Happy New Year. Welcome to the College Football Prop Show presented by LineStar. I'm Shannon Sommerville with your top 3 college football player picks for New Year's Day. I've got 3 really good picks for you. Last show that I did with the college football playoffs, we went 4-0 in our picks. So hopefully we can keep it rolling here into the year 2025. I do have to give out a winner from last show. Every day on this show, we like to put our money where our mouth is. Basically, we put our picks on an entry on Underdog, and if we cash, we give out some money to a randomly selected commenter. So with that, we get to announce a winner from last show. Then I'll get into tomorrow's picks. But the winner, without further ado, of the show last week is DJ GT7535, who wrote, "Thank you, Shannon, for these great picks. Congratulations. You are the winner of $50. Just make sure you comment on this video so we can get in touch with you to get you your winnings. If you'd like to be a winner as well, all you need to do is like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment below. Easy as that. You're in it to win it. Also, I should note that all of our picks are available on Underdog, Sleeper, Chalkboard, and Parlay Play. And if you don't have those, you can download them, but use the promo code LineStar. That's the key. So you can get a nice deposit match. Plus, you'll also get 1 free month of LineStar tool. The LineStar app is the tool that I'm using, the Props AI tool specifically, to help us find the best value in the prop market. We've got college football on there. So it's a really great tool that kind of helps me sort through all the various player props that are available for that week. I know that it depends on your state. Some states do not allow college football player prop bets. So apologies if you are in one of those states where it is restricted, but you have to see what your state's regulations are. I've gotten some questions in the comments about that. So just keep an eye on what the regulations are in your state. But without further ado, let's get into some of these games. Now, if you have watched this show this season, you know that one of the trends that I have been hitting week in and week out with pretty great success is going over on rushing yards on quarterbacks that are facing Georgia. Now, Georgia is my team, but I know that they have allowed a lot of opposing quarterbacks to clear the over on their rushing yards. So that's exactly where I am first headed. Riley Leonard over on his rushing yards. The line right now is set at 32.5 rushing yards. We're going over. LineStar and the consensus are on our side, so we like that. Listen, Leonard's averaging 58 rushing yards per game. He had about 30 versus Indiana. And when you look at Georgia and the way they've been playing defense, they've allowed even non-mobile quarterbacks to get there on rushing yards. When we look at they've really struggled specifically against mobile quarterbacks. And when you think about the games that they've either lost or almost lost, it's been mobile quarterbacks. Georgia Tech Haynes King had 110 rushing yards. Jackson Dart for Ole Miss had 50 despite injuring his ankle very early in that game, and he still got to 50 rushing yards. Jalen Milroe for Alabama had 117. This is a trend that they have kind of struggled. I also think it has to do with the way that they play defense. They like to take away the deep ball, so a lot of times that leaves them a little bit susceptible to some of those quarterback runs. So Riley Leonard over 32.5 rushing yards is my first play here. And then we're going to go on the other side of things, but I also like Georgia's quarterback over on rushing yards as well. Gunnar Stockton can absolutely clear the over on 12.5 rushing yards. The consensus projection here is on our side, 21.4. This is a guy we don't know a ton about because we've really only seen him for one half of football this season. He's coming into this game having had 8 carries for just 8 yards in the SEC championship game. But keep in mind that in college football, you lose yardage on the sacks. He had 2 sacks that hurt his overall rushing yards line, but that was also just from one half of football. So he had 8 rushing yards in just a half. So I think he can get there on over rushing yards. Remember that team that they faced, Texas, a very good rush defense. So he'll be facing, of course, the Irish in this one. And Stockton is a guy who I think, from what I've seen so far, seems unafraid to run. There was that one play against Texas where he just dropped his shoulder and just kind of earned the respect of his teammates for really not being afraid to mix it up in there with some of those DBs. So he's super tough. And this is a guy who's kind of very unassuming from the way teammates have described him. He drives his grandfather's Ford F-150 from 1985. If that doesn't say tough, I don't know what does. But he's going to be a hard guy to bring down, especially if they have a couple designed runs, which they could do. Now, they've acknowledged that he doesn't have the arm that Carson Beck does, but he's got a little wiggle, so don't be surprised if you see him carve out a couple big runs for the Bulldogs in this one. So we're going with Gunnar Stockton over 12.5 rushing yards. Lastly, we are going to Arizona State and their running back Cam Skattebo under, though, 100.5 rushing yards. Yes, I know he's pretty dynamic, averaging 130.6 rushing yards per game. However, I think this is a tall task. I like the under here for a couple of different reasons. Number one, going up against a very tough rushing defense. Texas was third in the SEC in rush yards allowed, limiting opponents to just 104 per game. So you've got that aspect. You've also got the game script aspect of this bet as well. ASU 12-point underdogs could mean the Sun Devils are just going to have to pass more and get more aggressive if the Longhorns get out to an early lead in this one. So I think the value here is to the under. I will say that LineStar's not with me on this one. So just keep that in mind with that pick. And those are our top three. It's a little bit tougher as we get into these college football playoff games. Handicapping gets a little more challenging. So just do your research, bet responsibly. But those are the three that I am rolling with. And do me a huge favor, like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment below for your chance at $50 if we go 3 for 3. So let's get after it. Good luck, everybody. And of course, Happy New Year. See you in 2025.